So in this film, we're looking at ratios for Speedlite, and basically ratios could be said to be crucial for a quick start into balancing the light to get the different effects that you're looking for when you're using multiple Speedlite flash within a setup as such. They're a quick way to balance the light across the different flashes so that your main light could be set at, say, one stop more than the fill light is, and the ratios will do that. And I hope I'm going to unravel a little bit of the kind of the equations for you, especially to the difference in the stops between the actual the speedlights themselves. So first of all, obviously in your scene, you've got to really look at what is your picture. So for here, I've shot with more flash on my right hand side, with less flash coming in my left hand side, and I've got a separation flash in the background as well. Now, if we look at the setup with it, we've got a master flash on camera. Now it's called really a controller flash. And then we've got a flash on the left hand side. As you can see, we've got a flash on the right hand side. That's here. And then you've got obviously your other flash, which is light in the background for separation and so on with it. So if we were looking back at the last photograph, it means that the flash on the right hand side has a higher number in ratio compared to the one on the left hand side. Now there's some funny numbers to do with the ratios. They are 1, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 8, 1, and also the reverse of that. So in other words, 8, 1, 4, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 8, 1. Basically what it means is that whichever your flash is dominant on, so in other words, if your flash on the left hand side you want more power with, you're going to have a higher number. And basically what the numbers mean, there's a stop difference to the other. So in other words, if I was to have a 2, 1, it would mean that the flash that we're seeing here on the left hand side has one more stop in power than the flash on the right hand side. The C flash is usually set to actually just in a manual mode with most speedlights anyway. If we had the likes of a 1, 4, that would create a 2 stop difference in the flashes. Now because I said 1, 4, it means the flash on the left hand side is going to be the lower one, and then the flash on the right hand side is going to be the more dominant in 2 stops more. And what that equates to then obviously depends on where the flash is and so on with it. You're going to get the slightly different effects in the balance to bring out different textures and so on, and more dynamic. If we were to look at the back of the master flash, you will see that we've got channel 4, we have master, and then we have ratio A, B, C. Now what does that mean? It means that the master flash, that's the one on camera, and as you can see there's a flash little diagram there. That means that that is set to fire. If there wasn't a zigzag there, the master flash, the flash on camera, wouldn't be firing at all. Then when we start to look at A and B, basically A is going to take more power. Why? Because as we can see, we have 8 to 1 here. So this is going to be 3 stops more on the left hand side compared to actually the middle as well with it. And if that was little mark here below the 8 to 1 on the left hand side here, if that mark was on the other side on the 1 to 8, it would be the reverse effect. But C is basically always set into its own kind of level. And then by just changing the ratios, you can change the different look and feel to the photographs. But as I said, C is usually set into a manual power setting by design. But when we're seeing the ratios set out as 8 to 1 right the way through to 1 to 8, basically remember what this equates to is a 1 stop, 2 stop, or a 3 stop difference in the flashes. So in other words, when we've got a 3 stop difference needed in an image, we would set it to 8 to 1. That means it's going to have 3 stops more power on the left hand side compared to the right hand side. if we wanted it to have 3 stops more power on the right side, we would have it on a 1:8. So that would actually just be sliding the ratio power just towards the right hand side itself. So again, once we start to kind of look at it, how it works then in the kind of the layup and the pattern, you can see I just set 2 flashes side by side and they're in ratios, and it means that the light on the right hand side has more power, whereas now the lights have almost the same power. So there's 1 stop difference there. And now these are in 1:1 mode, which is in equal flash. Okay, so you'll usually kind of encourage you to actually set this up yourself and just actually kind of have a little play around and things. So just because I'm using the cups on a countertop here, just as an example to actually show you dominant here in ratio in a 8:0, in fact, so the right hand flash doesn't kind of go off at all. Then we've put all the lighting onto the right hand side in perhaps a 4:1 ratio, but this would be set on flash as a 1:4 with more power on the right hand side. And it just gives you, as I said, lots of ideas on how you can kind of use the ratios within your photography, whether it's to bring out texture, whether it's to naturally add a kind of a key light and a fill light, in other words, a main light source, the working aperture, and then something to fill in the shadows, or you're using something to kind of add more texture across the image itself. Just one thing, be careful that the camera doesn't see the flash coming directly into it, whether it's reflected off a mirror or whatever it be, because you can actually get some weird results from that as well. Hopefully, I've unraveled a little bit about Speedlite ratios for you.